Hey everyone, Gary Edelman, American Battlefield Trust. That's Chris White behind the camera, and you saw what we opened with. No trespassing. I've never been here before, and I'm super psyched that we were able to work out with the National Park Service and with our guest here, that we're able to come here with special access. Don't come here yourself. This video is your opportunity to the actual park's cannon shop here at Gettysburg. And I think to do a whole lot more than that. And with no further ado, let's get to it. This is Lucas Flickinger. Lucas, what's your title and what do you do here?
The Monument Branch Supervisor for Gettysburg National Military Park, and this is our cannon shop operation here at the park. We have staff here that work on historic cast iron cannon carriages, but also some other parts and pieces that you'll see as we go through it today.
Cool. Can you give us a little tour?
Yeah. So the shop is set up with 2 repair bays and 1 paint bay. In a typical year, we will restore, preserve anywhere from 12 to 16 cannon carriages, depending on what other work we have. This building used to be the National Guard Armory, and then the foundation, in conjunction with the park, fixed up the inside for the shop that you see here today.
Well, they've done a good job. It sort of looks, this is the most, not only the cleanest, but probably the most stylish sort of metal shop I've ever seen before. Yeah. Look how cool it looks.
It's very upgraded, and it has everything we need. And we keep a good shop because we do metal work in 2 bays, and then we do paint in another. So we keep a good, the guys here keep a good shop.
Well, what's going on in this first bay?
Yeah,
here?
Let's check out the first bay here. So if you're familiar with the limbers that are up at the high watermark area, copse of trees area, 5 of those have wooden tongues on them. This is an old broken cast iron tongue that we're currently fixing right now. And then we'll have 5 of these cast, and then we'll be working on the limbers up on site to replace them once we get new parts back. So
I'd have never thought of how much, I mean, look at all this work that's going into just the tongue for one of the limbers. Now, limbers is that 2-wheeled contraption with a chest on top that held the ammunition that was connected to a cannon, and 6 horses could pull that as a team. And what an important thing this is as sort of a trail connecting the two. And you just got to get them right, right?
Right, exactly. So what we have up there now is wood that has rotted, and we need to replace these. So it's even a small piece like this, a minor piece that doesn't get noticed, as opposed to the wheels and the boxes and everything. You know, this is an important piece of it. So, and this work is a lot of grinding, a lot of fixing, a lot of repair, and it has to be right before we have new ones cast.
Now, you have a lot of volunteers here, but you also have actual craftsmen too, is that right?
Yeah, I have two craftsmen that are here. They're welder mechanics. And so we do some welding, we do a lot of grinding, a lot of sanding, a lot of repairs. The issue we have here, or what we do a lot here, there's a lot of problem solving that goes into what we do. The shop has been around for 30 years, but there's just a lot of unique issues that come up. We haven't worked on limbers in 20 years. So there's just a lot of there's a new facet to everything as we go into it.
Yeah, and some of the things you're working on were made 100 years ago. You know, it's not like you were given the blueprints and everything like that.
Correct, exactly. So everything, and that's why Gettysburg is unique, is that we have put our efforts into preserving those pieces of history because, yeah, as you said, many of them are 100, 120 years old. We'll have to get you guys back when we have a cannon in here and see, but that process is typically 4 to 6 weeks on it to do the repairs and then into the paint room. And
off the top of my head, as a battlefield guide, I think there's about 400 cannons on the battlefield. Is that about right?
We're very close. I think we're at 395 on the battlefield. We're trying to get to 405. But we're right at that point where we're well represented across the battlefield. There's barely any spots you can go without seeing some type of ordnance on the field. So we're not at the end of our program, but we're now starting to go back to carriages that were done in the early 2000s that need repairs.
Yeah, it sounds like job security to me. You've got hundreds of these, and by the time you finish the whole set, it's almost time to start again with the original set.
Right, and our processes, because the shop has been doing this for 30, our processes in the early 2000s, late 1990s, we've gained knowledge by doing all these carriages. We've gained knowledges of new processes and or just new techniques and castings that we can use for that restoration.
Well, here we are, as promised. Chris White behind the camera and I are 4 months older. We're back in the cannon shop, and what do you know, there are some carriages here. Let's get right to it. Ooh, we haven't walked in here yet. Check this one out. So as Lucas was describing, you know, stripping and preparing is a big part of this. And again, there's so many cannons on the field that this is almost constantly necessary. Lacking Lucas right now, we don't have the technical information, but I think you can see what's happening here. All of the old paint has been stripped off, and this is being prepared and primed so that it can be repainted and brought back out to the field. There's something cool about seeing it in this state, you know, and how unlike it is from the original wooden carriages that would have dotted Civil War battlefields, of course, long ago. I find it interesting, too, this big wooden block on which it's sitting looks a lot more like what the carriage actually would have looked like underneath than what we're seeing here. But just imagine the work and the wear and tear if they were still using those wooden carriages. They wouldn't just be stripping them every few decades, they would be replacing them every few decades. Really, really cool. Glad we're able to see that. Let's get us through the slats here. Not here, we've already done this, but on the, oh, check this out. So there's another one there, but check this out. So here's one of the many brigade plaques on the battlefield. These were put up by the War Department. I think we already talked about this, and here it is. Albert Gallatin Jenkins Brigade here. It's Cavalry Brigade here, and you can of course see it's Confederate Army here, and they are stripping and getting ready to put this back out onto the field. And you can tell when these have been prepared by the cannon and iron shop here. Very, very cool stuff. Now, when it's put on, it's going to be put on one of the granite bases that are round. If it were a Union Brigade plaque, it would be on a square base, an easy way to tell at a distance exactly which ones are which. Now here's one, God, in a much better state. I would say, I'm no expert, but a nearly done state. In fact, I'm not going to touch it because I can smell the fresh paint, much like old Rose could when she first got on the Titanic. But what a difference between the old one, or the other one we saw stripped, and this one right here. Very, very cool. And it looks beautiful. And won't this be great to have this out on the field? I wonder for where it is destined. We shall have to see. So we're going to wrap this up here and then continue our tour around the cannon shop with Lucas as Chris and I both get a little bit younger. I think before we leave today, I think that people are going to know that these are unsung heroes here, the volunteers and the full-timers who are working here. You know, you don't even see this till you're out on the park and you see the work that they're doing, but I don't think I've ever understood the work that goes into it.
Yeah, the amount of time and effort by the two gentlemen we have working in here, Brian and Carlos, and then the 5 regular volunteers that we have. So what we have here is, this is one of the fence panels for the Gregg Cavalry Monument out on East Cav Field. It's been in disrepair for many, many years, and we're finally have the ability to start working on this. And that goes back to having carriages represented across the field. We can start picking away at some of these other issues that we have. So it's time consuming, and it's a unique process. But the guys that work down here and myself, we all take pride in what we do, and the fact that the work that we do, we use historic photos to measure all our work.
That's the way to my heart. We'll be flashing up photos throughout this. And let me just say, I mean, look at our Gettysburg 158 coverage where we went out to the Gregg Cavalry shaft there. And this is one fence surrounding one monument of the 1,400 monuments, markers, and tablets here. Right. It's just mind-blowing to see all the work that's going into one fence.
We'll keep working on these panels as the year, but we're probably still a year out from getting this completely done because there will be other things that come in as we move through.
This is real project management. You move something aside for something that might be more pressing.
A week ago, there was a cannon carriage sitting in here.
Wow.
So, and then we moved that out and moved this in. So it's ever changing and ongoing for sure.
Just out of curiosity, do you have people banging on the door, you know, wanting to volunteer here, or are you looking for more?
We're not.
How do you manage that?
Right now, we're closed to new volunteers. Because the work is so specialized, we do have, like I said, we have a small cadre of volunteers that come in regularly to do special machining or special painting for us, but we're not at the point where we can manage a large-scale volunteer effort. So I would say at this point we're right-sized, and we're not looking for anybody additional right now.
Good, good. So that's two things. First, you're with the American Battlefield Trust. Secondly, we're in the cannon shop here at the Gettysburg Battlefield. And third, no, you can't come here and get a tour. And now, no, you cannot come here and volunteer without some sort of special permission. So please keep that in mind. Let this talented group do their work. Now, on the way out to the paint bay, I'm seeing some stuff here. What are these,
Yep,
Lucas?
so these are finished carriages that have been preserved or restored, and they're ready to go out on the field. So you'll see anything in green would have been wood. These are the whole carriage is cast iron, but anything in green would have been wood. Anything in black would have been iron. So the wheels are wrapped to protect the wheels, keep the paint jobs nice. And these carriages, we have a number 1 carriage, a number 2 carriage, and then that's a 20-pound carriage. That carriage is going to go to evergreen. This likely will go up on Little Round Top, and this is probably going to go on East Cemetery Hill.
A couple of things while we're here, Lucas, because I never really thought about the color of the paint being indicative of the material, and I've been a guide here for quite a while. Secondly, you can go back into the Gettysburg National Military Park Commission reports and see them ordering these carriages. In the early days, they were propping cannons up on stones. They were getting whatever they could, wire cannons, everything, carriages. And then they standardized them, and you could see which ones were placed where. And I love the way you just said that about the 20-pounder going to evergreen and where the other ones go. You're continuing that work of the early commission. And lastly, this idea, I could hear some of the work going on in the background. At the fight for Devil's Den, when the Confederates captured 3 cannons there, they took the cannons off at night, and they didn't want the Yankees to hear, so they wrapped the wheels in blankets to make it more quiet. Not to protect the paint, but to make it more quiet. And this is the first time I've ever seen such a thing, so this is cool.
Interesting.
Maybe before we get into the next bay, can we talk about some of these tubes over here?
Yeah, we can talk about these tubes. So these are this is our cannon. This is our tube rack where we do painting. So these get blasted to bare metal, and then the tubes get 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of black. So you have a 20-pounder here. This is from Evergreen. And when I say Evergreen, they're Gettysburg carriages that sit there right behind the gatehouse.
Right.
That we own the carriages, and that's our site. So this is getting ready to go back out. These two, one of these goes to Bushman Hill, and I don't quite remember where the second one goes.
Well, and that's cool. So these 3 tubes correspond with the 3 carriages you just showed us,
Cool,
the
yes.
larger one and the smaller ones here.
Correct, 3-inch ordnance rifles there. And then we have, I'm not sure which sign this is, but we have an Abbott. Yeah, so we have the Hancock Avenue sign. This is the original, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like it's been repaired
Yeah,
on
it's
the
been
back
repaired.
at some point.
Oftentimes you can see the repair there. One of our biggest issues over the years is we fix signs because they're cast iron. And so we do avenue signs, battery tablets. We have a lot of iron on the field.
Yeah, we're talking about fences, we're talking about limber tongues, we're talking about plaques and whatnot. And,
Right.
You know, again, like with those plaques, a lot of those were put in the first decade of the 1900s. And let me just say real quick, because when we were looking at one of those carriages over there, I could see stamped on the side, it was done by a guy named Calvin Gilbert.
Yep.
There's a lot of Gilberts in town, and I guess you see some Gilbert carriages.
Yeah, we have Gilbert carriages. As you said, he had a foundry in town and provided, I think, 80 or 90% of the carriages on the field. The Gettysburg carriages are unique to this park. There is records of him sending carriages to Chattanooga and Vicksburg, but we have the largest collection.
Good, and from reading the reports, I seen he was selling them in groups of, 5, 10, 15 for $70 each, $90 each. I can only imagine how much effort goes into just, repairing them and getting them ready in 2023.
Right.
One more thing, there's a local Gilbert fighting in Company K of the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves, and he is related to a professor who later writes a book and is a battlefield guide and falls under some suspicion and gets his guide license suspended. This guy was sometimes not paid for the work he was doing, so sorry to any of you Gilberts out there. There's some Gilberts here in town that, might shine a little darkness upon your reputations. What do we have here, sir?
Let's look at the paint room here. So these carriages just came out of the repair bays last week, and they were put in here. They get 2 coats of primer, 2 coats of green, 2 coats of black. And you can see we have, you know, everything here looks like it's very easily done. But like I said, there's been 20, 30 years of us figuring out, you know, you put them up on jack stands. You hang the implements up so they're out of the way when you paint. These are all painted by a volunteer, and they're all freehand painting. Then they'll sit for 2 weeks, dry, and then we'll get them out on the battlefield. Oftentimes, we don't set carriages one at a time. We typically will do 2 to 4 at a time, just to be efficient with our time.
Right. I also like that you have some old park things on the wall. I've noticed this in numerous rooms here. I'm seeing some newer avenue signs. I also see just some straight up decorative stuff to keep people in the mode.
There's some decorative stuff, and it's also, you know, we do have visitors that come through. We do gifts like this where we'll do a special tour, and it's just good information of, you know, how things work. And we have there's some pictures. This photo here, or these series of photos, shows, I think on the right there, top right, is the carriages from, I think these are on West Confederate, and that was the condition in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I remember a lot of the park looking that way, or some percentage of the park when I first started guiding here.
Yeah, so we have, the process has come a long way, the park has come a long way.
Wow.
So,
I like this sign. I hadn't noticed before behind the paint. I don't know if you got this one yet, but hopefully we won't see this on the new visitor center at any point, which is pretty cool. So his suggesting that there are special tours here was not your invitation to just show up at the cannon shop. Notice we're not telling you where it is. Let them do their work. Uh-oh, here's where the magic happens.
So this is the office break room, but there's actually research tools in here. The photos on the wall start at the beginning of the park right after the battle. So we start with July 1863, and then it moves through the commemorative period up to the early 1920s, and just shows some of the different cannon types that were on the field and are on the field. And then we have a series of maps made by another volunteer, Bruce Vanasacker, out in Michigan.
Remember him?
He has created a map that this tells us the batteries, the battery names, and each cannon position has a number. And then, so this is the battery names on this map, and then this tells us the serial number and the type of tube that is on the cannon. So it's very easy for us to reference where we're going and what we're doing.
And prioritize your work, I suppose.
And prioritize the work. And this research has allowed us to put as near as we can, and I feel like we're within probably 98%, that the tubes put out by the veterans are put back in the spot where they put them originally.
That's great, because they weren't put there happenstance. The types of tubes that were put there are representing the types of guns those batteries had. Now, I don't know if there's as much to see on the back, but...
Well, we can walk through.
Yeah, let's take
see.
a look.
So we call it, this is sort of our repair alley. We have some painting of small implements here, and then just a series of tools, machines, stockpiles of steel.
I'm going to wager we have some machinists here watching. We'd love you to chime in on some of the things you're seeing and agree or disagree whether this is one of the more clean machine shops I've ever seen. I haven't been in 50, but I've been in 10 or 15 of them. I think Chris White behind the camera has a relative that's been doing this sort of work.
So, and this is, you see here, this is a workstation for one of our volunteers who makes the sponge chains. He has to take these strips of metal and then he bends them, and then they'll have little rings built. But it's a process, you know. A lot of what we do, especially with the volunteers, is they work on things and they just keep moving forward. That's what we have a lot of things in motion at any one time.
Well, yeah, and just that. I mean, you guys are truly craftsmen. It's really great, and I am lucky the volunteers are here. We all are.
Sandblaster?
Yes. I've never stuck my hands in one of these, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. I don't even know what I'm grabbing because I can't really see. Oh, there's some stuff in here. I hope I'm not wrecking any bit of the park here. It feels like a scrubby brush or something.
It's a sandblaster unit. So you turn it on and it blasts off all the paint.
You know what? I can die now. I've always wanted to do that. Thank you, Lucas.
We do some of our own forging here for implements. All the small things on a cannon carriage, they don't sell at Kmart.
Yeah.
So we fabricate a lot of our smaller stuff gets fabricated. So you have something like this that gets,
I recognize that from the cannon carriage.
that gets fabricated out of this, and that's what we use the forge for, to do that. So we do that. That's a, you know, an ongoing process. We'll do a little bit here and there. So parts and pieces to everything.
We see these a lot on the battlefield.
Yep.
The edges of the cannons, those knobs are called trunnions, and this will hold it there to the carriage, right?
Yep.
Later in the war, I know that both sides don't even have those. The weight of the cannon simply kept the trunnions in place, which is interesting. And I know Chris knows what that is pretty well, right? What do we have there?
We have our elevation screw there for the back end of the gun.
Good, good. And I see some other pieces here that are looking familiar. Really cool to see this stuff kind of disassembled, like you said. It's like a playground in here if you're nerdy enough, too.
So we have this is one of the finished panels. The repairs have been completed to this. This is a finished section of the Gregg fence. It obviously is going to go to paint, but we're going to wait until we have more panels to send everything to paint. So this is a panel that will be repaired. You can see here damage. And this isn't necessarily, this is damage from rusting and rust jacking. So this isn't from visitors or someone trying to vandalize anything. This is just from being out in the weather for 100 years.
Yeah, and what I would say, you know, in coming through here, one of the things that's coming clear to me, and look at these beautiful finials, obviously a different fence there.
Yeah, this is Baltimore pike fence. That fence is one of the oldest fences in the park, and we've slowly been picking away at repairs on that as well.
You know, what's coming through to me loud and clear is, you know, if you're out on the park and you're impatient for your favorite monument piece to be put on, or a fence to be repaired, or your favorite cannon to be back, give these guys a break. I'm seeing that this is a lot of work, even to do the most minor of things. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I agree with that, and I think it's a good thing to understand is this is the cannon shop. Right, so this is just one part of our operation. So this is our 400 cannons, our iron fences, Baltimore East, Lafayette fence, and then we have all the stone and bronze that we handle as well. So there's a lot that the park deals with on a regular basis.
Anything else you want to add, Lucas? We really appreciate this tour here.
I don't think so. It's I'd like to have you guys back when we have some cannons in the base, because I think it'll show you the other side of the operation, and I think there's some interesting things there to share as well.
Good, and I think by the time you see this, you'll have already seen it edited into this video. So
cool.
Thanks so much for having us. This is super cool.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to Chris for filming, and everybody, thank you all for watching, sharing this with your friends, and for supporting battlefield preservation, restoration, and education.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust YouTube channel. Preserve, educate, inspire.